My 8,000 kilometer, 5,000 mile road trip around Southern Africa is over, and I want to share with you some views, mostly from behind the driving wheel, and also some observations I have made along the way. San Francisco Airport is where it all started, and after 35 hours, I have landed in Cape Town, South Africa. Since I was pretty beat, I slept 2 nights in the city, visited the famous Table Mountain, and rented a car. But since old habits die hard, and in South Africa and the neighboring countries they drive on the left side of the road, the first thing I did when I left the car rental place was that I automatically started driving on the right side. There was no ongoing traffic, so I had no point of reference. And when I turned right onto a major street, and as luck had it, about 5 cars, one of them a police car, were driving directly head on. So I slammed the brakes, shifted to reverse, and accelerated as much as I could. No one even blinked. Police ignored me, so all good. Well, as you can imagine, that completely woke me up, and I actually appreciated it when adrenaline wore off a little bit. I'm going basically northeast for now from Cape Town, driving to the Kingdom of Lesotho. First, of course, we need to cross the border and spend some quality time in line and getting visa on arrival. Maseru, the capital of the country, is quite unremarkable in my opinion, sorry. So let's head north without further ado. This is a mountainous kingdom, so we should see some mountains along the way. And in my guest house, I found out that I will not be allowed to drive through Sunny Pass unless I have a four-wheel drive, and since I don't, I had to change the plans and we will leave the country as soon as possible, heading back to South Africa. So we have arrived in another kingdom called Swaziland. Actually, the king renamed the country to Eswatini a couple of years back. I'm filming the wildlife from my car, but it is not an ordinary road. This is a road through a game park. Driving slowly is a rule for safety of the animals and also for your own safety. And it does make perfect sense because you do want to see animals, as many as you can. And then back to South Africa, get the passport stamped and back on the road. Welcome to South Africa, the sign says. So it's time to continue the journey, maybe to buy some local food for the road and go. And right out of the gate, literally, you may encounter some wildlife, like this guy taking it easy and totally oblivious to cars. He picked his spot for relaxing almost in the middle of the access road, and the baboons not being bothered by traffic at all. Actually, they may be attracted by it since they are smart and know that where there is people for finding some food. Zebras, on the other hand, don't associate people with food, but still they are not bothered by cars, obviously. And the African wild dogs are real wild dogs, not escaped domesticated dogs, by the way. I don't know what they think. I sure hope that when they see me, they don't think about their next dinner. And if an elephant decides to cross the road, you gotta stop. Who would want to have an argument with an elephant? Not me, for sure. Well, and if giraffes decide to, you stop too. You just want to admire the grace with which they walk. And here is a lot of driving involved. Botswana is the size of France, so you can imagine you've got to do a whole lot of driving to get from one side of the country to the other side, more than 1,000 kilometers. Someone planted baobab trees, it seems. And even after driving all day, you need to keep your eyes open, not just for the traffic safety. If you blink, you may miss an elephant, literally. And eventually, the day is over, driving is over for today and you can see a glorious African sunset and relax. And now we have to return from the northernmost point of our journey back to South Africa. Again, it will be a long drive in the savannah and desert. Botswana has several disease control points where you have to drive through some chemical solution and actually also walk through it, since they want to protect their cattle from trucks and people coming possibly from an area with some cattle diseases. And then time to make up for lost time. Occasionally there is some settlement or some small town, but they are far and in between. And when there is some excuse to take a break from driving, you don't hesitate. And baobab trees are certainly a good reason to take a break from driving. Those trees can live over 1,000 years and are quite an iconic sight. They are unique to Africa and Madagascar and Australia. Its young leaves are edible, and the large woody fruit contains a tasty pulp from which a refreshing drink can be made. But I didn't come across it, so I didn't taste it, unfortunately. In the last couple of decades, many of them have died. Scientists suggested that they probably died because of the climate change, and that is pretty sad. They are pollinated by bats and flower at night, and they are deciduous. And if you are wondering about those huge trunks, they are storing large amounts of water. So it's time to continue. Hopefully we will make it to South Africa today, but we will see how it goes. First, we need to let animals cross, then we continue. As I mentioned previously, there are not many settlements and villages and towns. The country of Botswana is sparsely populated, and since it is a size of France, roughly, and I think it has only about maybe 2.5 million inhabitants, so you can imagine it's not densely populated. There are also not many roads in the country, and ones that they have, you have to share with animals. And eventually, since we are getting closer to the South African, Botswana-South African border, I think I'll need to stop and buy some gas to be kind of ready, so I don't have to struggle right after the border, since I'm running kind of low. Here in Botswana, it's very similar, or I would say the same as in South Africa. You don't go and pump your own gas like you do in the US or in Europe. There are attendants that do it for you, and it's included in the price of the gas, petrol as they say, I guess, but it's customary that you tip them, and they will do some other things for you as well. They will wash the windshield, check your fluids, and check your oil, air pressure, tire pressure, and so on. Whatever you want, they will do. And there is no price tag for those services. You just tip them, give them whatever you consider appropriate. And we are at the border. You can kind of see it because of the trucks and because of the barbed wire. So first I need to go through the Botswana post, then through kind of a no man's land, quote unquote, and do some little paperwork on the South African border, and I'll be in South Africa. And it looks like there is a pretty huge traffic mess. I don't know what happened, maybe nothing, just bureaucracy or capacity of the border post. They have some restrictions how many trucks can go in during the day, I don't know, but it's a huge line. Many of the settlements and small villages along the road are basically just a bunch of huts and houses, so it's not worth stopping by, but hopefully we will see some nice towns, at least one or two of them, before we get back to Cape Town. Many of the roads in South Africa are in a very, very bad shape. It moon-sized holes. Actually, it's unbelievable. They just put signs there, and that's about it. But some of the roads in some provinces like here are being actively repaired, and actually it's a pleasure to drive there on the repaired roads.
This is the view of the hills or mountains in Kalahari Desert, basically South Africa. This is the hotel where I am staying, Springbok in Springbok, South Africa, and it is about 100 kilometers the border with Namibia, and maybe a couple more going west, Atlantic Ocean, and that will be the direction I'll be probably traveling tomorrow, I think. We will see. There is not a huge reason to stay here unless you are heavily into mountain biking, trekking, down for Atlantic Ocean, North Cape, pretty windy and not exactly hot. This looks like a small, well, maybe not so small village where people go for a vacation. And it's pretty windy today. And this is the view from the beach, the view of the resort house.
Driving can be pretty boring, especially if you don't like to drive, which is not my case. But even that, if you are driving from morning till the evening, several days in a row, then it may get pretty tiring. And I can imagine that from boring driving, you cannot make non-boring video. So I picked just a couple places or a couple sites along the way, tried to put it together, and if we have survived until now, then what can I say? Congratulations and big thank you, and see you next time. Take care.